and they will be moderated by Humberto Schwab. Enjoy.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do the second Socratic dialogue in public in Europe, well, probably in the world, because mostly people don't dare to do this. Because it can be that we will say nothing for 50 minutes because the people are just thinking. Because we don't prepare a PowerPoint or a non-PowerPoint or nothing, anything, it's just unprepared brains. But they are here because they are very good creative people. But till now they operated individually in public, like Hardy, and they will now start being, for the 50 minutes, one collective brain. And the one who's going to facilitate that and force them to become that is myself. I'm a philosopher and a physicist. I don't use my physics to change them, but well, my philosophical tools. And that are Socratic tools. Socratic tools is in a way the answer to the crisis in fragmented academic knowledge, which started the salvation of this real thinking. It started in 1900 in Germany, of course, where also everything, the horror started, also the solution started in Germany, where Heckman developed the Socratic discourse, which is a methodology, a philosophical methodology, to just start with questions again. So don't go into details from the very difficult, specialized, disciplined experts high in the tower. Only real knowledge, Socrates will tell you, is when it's connected to a person. Never read a book because you don't know who has written it, what sort of person, and he doesn't know you, so it has no use. So that's what Socrates said. Always talk with the experts. That's what the Club of Amsterdam is. So I always talk to Philip. We have to be Socratic. We did a lot of stuff, but in secret in Girona. I live in Spain, in a very beautiful environment. We did some Socratic think tanks, and now we go out in public. Before I start, I will give each of the panel 1 minute at maximum, so I have a stopwatch here, to introduce themselves. And it can be anything you want to say yourself. It can be about your life, about your philosophy, your work, or your political or your philosophical ideas. And of course I will start with the only lady, because Dana has not shown up yet. Please go ahead.
Okay, I use this one?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you hear me? Okay, my name is Jeanine van der Wiel, and I'm in the red tape you mentioned, because I'm in regulatory affairs. But the other part of it is that we enable food to be sold and to be eaten, healthy food to be sold and to be eaten all over the world. With regard to food, I think we are maybe from all the teams here that we are in a relative good position because in fact there is enough food and there can be produced enough food for this 10 billion people that we expect to be on the planet in 2050. So indeed we have a steep rise there in the population, but we think we can feed them all. And of course there are disbalances between us eating.
It's about this guy and this girl. Okay. No, it's just one child, so it's not overpopulation.
It's only one child.
It's only one child. Okay,
and this is the, and we are. I think our age group is already a bit skewed to the old part. So it's. I'm happy that there is a baby in the room.
Exactly. Thank you very much. It's very clear. Andrei.
Yes, my name is Andrei Kotov. I'm here tonight. Thank you very much for an excellent introduction. All the issues. I work for Shell. As a business planning manager, and tonight I'm going to cover the topics of energy. Normally work in Rijswijk, in the suburb of The Hague. When I was invited by Felix to take part in tonight's event, I was wondering, what is it that's so interesting about this topic? I started thinking about that, and I realized that the main issues are actually highly interconnected. So, for example, food, energy, water, those are all different facets of the same, if you will, set of problems. So when we talk about problems and broad solutions and broad models, that's something that we should think about tonight, about the interconnectedness of the world's energy systems and how interconnected the problems have become. So hopefully that will be at the forefront, and then people will come to recognize that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Felix. I'm specialized in cultural differences, value differences, and how these value differences are working out in practice in organizations. I work for companies like IBM, 3M, but also organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, and so on, and not to forget the European Central Bank. I'm saying that because some of the things that were coming across was, we should have a worldwide kind of organization, but the local culture should be intact. Well, forgive me, but if I think back at the European Union, and I recently wrote an article about the European Union in the value context, then you see what might happen. I mean, in describing the value diversity in Europe, I can distinguish 5 of the 6 culture clusters, value clusters, I can distinguish worldwide. And that is really not easy then to have a common definition of, for instance, democracy and the rule of law. These things are really important to understand, especially if you talk about immigration, because one of the issues is, the increase of the population worldwide. But what we see at our work,
thank you.
Very practical,
Stop.
is the opposite.
I'm a very strict moderator, otherwise we won't come somewhere anywhere. Okay, you go. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Arjen Kamphuis. I'm a physicist by training and IT architect by profession, and I'm recovering techno-optimist, as it were. Grown up in the 80s and the 90s. I've spoken a few times earlier at Club of Amsterdam events, and I think what I have tonight is pretty much an extension of that. I liked Hardy's talk about the Titanic very much, because I think the analogy actually goes much better in much more detail than most people will realize. But Hardy was talking a lot about we must, and that begs me to ask the question, well, who's this we that you're talking about? Because I think our biggest problem right now, very practically, is that we don't have a consensus about that there is a problem. I mean, there are many people who say there are no problems, or we just need to tweak tax law a little bit. And then even among the people who say there is a problem, there's absolutely no consensus about what the problem is, or what our goals should be that we actually want to achieve. So do we want to save as many people as possible, or do we want to save biodiversity, because those might be opposing goals? So given that we don't have a consensus on any of that, I think
thank you. That's a very nice sketch of the problem. Thank you. Very good. Okay, we go to the next. Yes.
My name is Oebele Bruinsma. I would like to thank Felix for having me here. The reason I'm here basically is the talk, also on paper worth looking at, it still at the internet at the Club of Amsterdam site, written by Mr. Schloer here. I happen to disagree with most of what he said, although I liked the part of education. The reason is very simple. My background is mathematical biology, a rather strange way of combination, but a very powerful one, which shows how resilient the human beast is actually. Also, it can do quite a lot of damage, but by diversity, and my colleague Wursten is already indicating that, that's where we differ from our introductor, that we believe that diversity is an excellent way of combating the so-called global type of crisis. First of all, there is no global crisis, it's all diverse and local, and it can, for the greater part, be solved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hardy, we know, so do you want to say something?
My name is Hardy Schloer, and whatever he said is all wrong.
Okay, thank you very much. I will now be warned by Miguel from the time, because I will go into this discourse. This is a very bad start, because people are saying he is wrong and he is wrong and we are opposed. So we're going to change this. Climate from now on. And a Socratic dialogue is about trying to find an argumentation about one good idea. And how do we find this good idea? You know that idea means theory in Plato's sense and means a way of seeing at things. So it's not abstract. Idea. Always people think Plato, they have all wrong indications that Plato is idea world. Wrong. Plato talks about how to look at things, very important, the form. So we got to find a new way of looking at things, but before we do that, I give you the rules. First of all, we start with a philosophical question. Well, some of you will say, oh my God, I don't know what is a philosophical question. I can tell you almost everything is a philosophical question, except things about outside, but we have to investigate, like how many people will we have in 2020? That's done perfectly by your business. So no empirical questions are allowed, and no psychotherapeutical questions. So not why am I so unhappy? That's another building. For the rest, you can ask anything, but every part of the member of the panel will give one question, and we will together select one. And if, because of this time, normally we have 3 days, we have now 45 minutes. So if it's going too slow, then I will choose the question. But after that, there is no hurry. Because an important aspect of the Socratic dialogue is no production force. You know what John Cleese said? If you want to be real creative, stop hurrying yourself and stop forcing yourself to a result. This result-oriented thinking has cost us a lot of shit. Yeah? So we don't need to produce anything. The audience is also warned. You can watch it at 6 people just thinking, which is very interesting. Secondly, we cannot use theories outside this group, literature, investigations, or authorities. The only authority, the source of knowledge, are you. Basically your brain, but also your heart and your stomach, which is the Plato 3 parts of thinking. So you can use that all, but just from yourself. Use a simple language, and if we have found a question, no, you're not allowed at this moment to ask anything, later on, because I didn't finish all the rules. You can use simple language so that everybody understands what is going about. If you have a question, what is he talking about, immediately ask me, because we must be as clear as water. So that means slowly talking and slowly proceeding. But the chair has a very important weapon. I can ask you, when Andrei has said something, I will immediately ask Hardy, what did he say? And then probably you say, I don't know, I was thinking, okay. Then we go back, what did he say? And then Jeanine will say, he said this. Okay, then when we know what he has said, we can continue. If not, we cannot, we stop. After 5 minutes, I will ask, of course, to Arjen, can you give a summary of this 5 minutes? If he cannot, we go back to the first minute and try to build it up again. Because it has no use otherwise. Hours of very costly discussions in the world is no use, because everybody's in a discussion, listening to himself. And if he hears the word bicycle, they say, yes, I know everything about bicycle, it's going to Atlantis, and then somebody talks about Atlantis, and everybody goes home thinking he has won the debate. In this time, we're just going to listen to each other, and this is, you cannot avoid this, because we are forcing you to repeat what the other has said, which is basically a very nice exercise, because normally you stay in your own brain, which is very intelligent, but limited. David Bohm, which is, I would say, and Hardy agreed with me, is one of the best thinkers of this time. He wrote a lot of important books, but the most important thing is think together. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing I will ask you is to make a question. Please, every one of you, give me your question, and you can think about it 30 seconds. But first, Andrei had a question about the procedure, or disappeared?
No, I still have that question. Are we, just to make sure we make the most of this, are we allowed to use multiple choice questions?
No.
It's a multiple
No.
choice answer.
Because multiple choice questions are basically based in this quantitative thinking, and we're going for brain thinking together. And that's not possible in multiple choice. Okay? Please make a question now. What is you think, what the question you have at this moment? So not the question you had a week ago, the question you have at this moment. Because we are very present with a lot of other intelligent people, so let's use this brain power. And even if they don't talk, their brain will work in this Agora.
Really?
Now I'm just looking, they got 30 seconds, so we are 25. Okay.
Come on, be fast.
I start with, no, okay, I correct you again. sorry to correct you. We are in a hurry.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't need to speed up. Because that we do always, so now we don't do that. Can I start with Andrei with your question?
Yes. How do we make trade-offs between present benefit and
Sorry,
future benefit?
can you...
Let me repeat the question. So how do we make trade-offs between present benefits and future benefits? What's the best way of doing it?
And can you give a simple formulation instead of trade-offs? Because most people...
Well, the trade-off is when we have to make a choice. Do we enjoy something now or do we enjoy it in the future?
Okay,
so I
that's
think,
clear.
yeah, that has a lot of relevance to this tonight's discussion. So how do we make those choices?
Okay, next please.
How do you choose your food? How do you choose what you eat?
Thank you.
Do you think that as a result of globalization, we are converging in our values?
Okay.
And what should the goal of sustainability be? What is it that you're actually trying to achieve by becoming a sustainable human or a sustainable society or a sustainable planet?
So what should the goal of sustainability be? Yeah, that's the question.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the benefit of consensus?
What is the benefit of consensus? No, it's not about this dialogue, I suppose, because you're not allowed to ask questions about this dialogue. It's in general.
In general.
Yeah. So it's not. and the audience
Sounded pretty
is.
multiple choice to me, actually.
What is the benefit of consensus? Okay, very good.
How has the speed of communication shaped global conflict?
Okay. Everybody thinks about this question. And I want to ask somebody of this panel, which question do you feel very strongly towards? No, the other ones. Yeah, of course, Jeanine. No, that's not true. The assumption that you feel strongest for your own question is not a correct assumption. Because you can hear a question of somebody else and say, wow, that's a good question. So, who feels very strongly for a question of the other?
Yeah, what about the question, what is the goal of sustainability?
Microphone.
Oh,
Microphone, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I feel very strongly attracted to the question, what is the goal of sustainability?
Can you give an argument for that,
Yes.
please?
There are kind of 100 eco-labels at the moment, certifying institutes and organizations, all claiming this is sustainability. You need to do this, this and this to end up with this or this certificate, and then you are sustainable. And all have their own value, but okay, can we come to really answer this question? What is sustainability then?
Okay. Do you agree, as somebody say, I have a stronger feeling for another question, or can you go with this one?
Oh,
Yes.
I have another.
Okay, and please give an argument.
The first question is very interesting. It's about trade-offs, because every day we make trade-offs. So what is the benefit or non-benefit of this trade-off over that one, and how does this mechanism is advancing us? It's a very interesting question.
Okay.
Conversely, I must say I found the question about consensus very interesting to explore as well, because what is consensus and what is so good about that?
I second that.
Okay, so we have now three. Arjen, what do you like most of the other question?
I like his question.
The consensus.
Consensus, yes.
Okay,
I can live with that.
you can live with that.
I think we have a consensus.
Okay. So we have a meta question. Yeah, so Okay, we have the consensus. So, what is the use of consensus? That we can go on now. Yeah? So, what would be the second question then? If we have, if we have this consensus about consensus, what should be then the second question?
Let's attack this one.
Yeah. Okay. How can we find a important way of finding an answer? How can we proceed? Not just start, but somebody gives a proposal. How can we think about what is the benefit of consensus? How can we do this now?
Best explain it.
Wait a minute. If you want to have the floor, you ask it first. And you can have it.
Can I start
Yeah,
with an
you can
example?
start. Yeah. An example from your own experience.
Well, not exactly, I'm not that old, but I'll take an example from 1905, which is, from physics, a very important year. In 1905, there was consensus, the world was ready, based on classical physics. Faraday, Hertz, Mach, Lorentz, de Broglie, all these type of people worked very hard, highly intelligent, to classical, mechanical, Newtonian physics. And then, suddenly, in January 1905, and I know that because I went to this museum in Bern, there was a non-scientist, but a very inquisitive young mind, and he proposed something totally different. One person. The consensus was all against him. And within a few years, everybody was in Albert Einstein's physics. That's for consensus. Which means if we all for consensus, we can all be wrong.
Okay, so that's not a benefit. But the question was, what is the benefit? So I go to...
But that's sarcastic.
No, but let's try to be real. We try to be integral. And so sarcasm is something you can do always, but now we try to find an answer. Okay, what is the benefit of consensus? Jeanine, can I invite you?
Well, yes, then I sneak in the other theme of sustainability, of course.
Yeah, you're allowed.
and also food, because that's closely related. What is, if we can come to consensus about what is sustainability in our eyes, for instance, no child labor or fair pay for workers, farmers, or is sustainability having the smallest eco footprint possible on a consumer product? If we come to a consensus on that, we can really focus on that.
So you say, what is the benefit of consensus? Can you repeat? Okay, Humberto, can you repeat that?
To be honest, not completely.
Okay, then I give you first Andrew. Can you repeat what Jeanine said? The conclusion? The conclusion?
Not entirely. I think this was a partial argument. But I would like to repeat the first
No,
point.
sorry. Can you give a summary, very short, of Jeanine, the point? But we go step by step from one person and to build something up. So we're not going to make a new point. Yeah? Okay, you are.
I think she argues that without consensus we cannot move forward.
Yeah.
And that therefore consensus is required to reach any next step in any process.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to add something now at this moment? Otherwise I go to Hardy. Yeah. Can you make a next step? Following her first move.
I thought we were still on the question, what's
No. She's tried to work on the consensus question on the
Yeah,
case of
me too.
sustainability. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
I wanted to explain on an example what the benefits of consensus is.
Okay, please do.
There was a psychologist in the late 1800s, and his name escaped me because I'm not very good in remembering names. And he did an experiment. He went to what they had on the market on Saturday, and he would always go and take a bull from some farmer, and he would put the bull on display, and then he would ask people to guess what the weight of the bull is. And if they were getting it exactly right, they would win a prize. And he did this experiment week after week after week. And he was also a statistician. And what he found out is this: everyone was wrong guessing the weight of the bull. But the most correct answer was by taking a cumulative all answers and divide them by the amount of people that gave an answer.
Okay, that's a nice.
And that almost always produced within 1 or 2 kilos exactly the weight of the bull.
Okay, thank you. I go to Humberto. Where are we now a little bit, and then you make a next step, please.
Yeah, well, my next step is, we are talking about consensus, but what does it mean?
No, but what did they said already?
Yeah, but
your previous
no, but I have a question about what
No, but
consensus means.
that's not allowed. Sorry. You can. I come back with you after we made the summary.
I'll try to make an executive summary of this, because this is in fact a brief description of the concept, the so-called wisdom of the crowds.
Yeah.
This is where you can take a large number of people, have them guess, in this case the weight of the bull, divide by the number of people getting to the average value, and apparently it will be pretty close to what you're trying to measure. So I'd like to take this further and suggest that crowdsourcing is a form of new innovation, which probably will have a role to play in finding solutions to some of the more pressing energy challenges.
Okay. Jeanine, can you go on with your? You started to put this consensus model on sustainability. What do you do with what Andrew said? Just mentioned.
Well, yeah, in fact he proposes to ask people around about what should be sustainability, or what should be the preferred way to go forward. And that indeed, if you ask enough people, you come to the best answer.
Can you can we all think why that is the case? If we just ask people about this, why is that the case that we get the right answer? Does anybody can give an argument on that? Okay, thank you. We go to next.
As with everything in life, sometimes it's right, everybody is guessing right, but quite often it's not. I'm not quoting from literature because that's not allowed, but quite a lot of consensuses went totally wrong. For instance, in the field I'm in food production, for instance, if you remember the Russian agronomist Lysenko, through consensus of his way of growing plants, 30 million people died. Because it was the political consensus. So it's a dangerous word, and it just depends what you, if you have innocent things like a label has to be such and such in food sustainability, or we are against child labor, and with a consensus we define that a child is anybody over 13 years of old. Of course everybody is going to agree, because it will have, in general, very interesting and appeasing consequences. But if you're talking in Dutch, on the scherp of the snede, as we say in the Netherlands, like the physics 1905 thing, then something totally different, because in a consensus role you can be totally wrong.
Okay, but I want to make the step after the two before them. Andrei
It
said
all
something.
ties in, I promise you, it all ties in.
Good. Very good.
Because he is right twice.
Yeah.
In that he the physics model that he mentioned earlier is a classic, and it's absolutely correct.
We know that.
What actually must be done is that consensus must be found what the ultimate outcome should be of what we want. The goals.
Yeah.
We need to find consensus on goals. How to get there, that must be done by the experts. Or that must be done by expert systems.
Thank you very much. That's a very clear.
And that's a big difference.
That's a very clear difference. Very good. Could you give a summary? No, I asked first summary.
I'm happy to take that. Yes. So a consensus is something that we need towards the end outcome, and expert systems could have a role to play.
Sorry.
To reiterate the points, firstly, we agree that consensus is something that we can have towards the outcome. So
the goals.
The goals, yes, and indeed the outcome. What is it that we want to see ultimately? And also that consensus is something that we can arrive at. It can be a political process, but artificial systems can have a role to play in this. And I would like to take it a step further and say that consensus is ultimately a very efficient thing, because everybody agrees on something, like the Earth is flat, for instance, then they can all be refuted at the same time.
They can work on it, yeah.
They can work on it, but then once the new paradigm is found, then everybody is at the same time refuted
but that's
and
not a goal,
corrects their vision. that's just the byproduct of the properties of consensus. I think it's a very efficient thing.
Okay, go to Jeanine and then take it. What was what Hardy said and what he added, and what do you want to add?
Well, what Hardy said was that consensus is useful about the goal that you want to reach, but there are many ways to go there, and that you probably should leave that to the experts.
That's
Good idea. And then
or the computer system or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and then Andrei also said you could use artificial intelligence or systems even to get there. But consensus is a paradigm that we use, that we are using then collectively to reach our goals, or it is a goal we want to reach. But you can find out, meanwhile, that the paradigm is not correct, like the flat Earth. That in the end we found it was a globe. So, but it can be very useful to work your way forward.
Okay, how can we come to consensus of goals? That's an interesting next step now. Yeah?
How can we come to consensus of goals? Yeah, well, people are driven by money, sex, and power. So use that.
Oh, that's an interesting assumption. Okay, we have a very.
It doesn't take long.
It's always
It doesn't take long.
Exactly. You know that Socrates always said wisdom is erotic, so we are there now again. Is it easy to find? Is it easy to find goals of humans?
I'm going to go back to one of the questions I wanted to raise before.
Yes.
So if you stop me again, then...
Okay, well, I first want to make this and then... what has to do with it? Okay, of course.
Because if you talk about consensus, I mean, you have to define consensus. And it's going back to negotiating theory. You can have, a compromise, or you can have a win-win situation. And I think what we are aiming at is a win-win situation. And in English, you make a difference between output and outcome. I think what we are referring to is outcome.
Exactly.
Consensus, shared interest in terms of what we all try to achieve.
Okay, so you say it's not only money, sex, and power; it's also intelligent intercultural dialogue.
Sure.
That's very interesting. Can you say something about the two things? So we have money, sex, power, and interesting cultural dialogue.
Hold on to that sex.
Always. No, but you know, internet is about.
Since my name is after the overpopulation thing, and of course that ties directly into sex.
Exactly. Well, you don't realize it when you do it, but anyway.
Yeah, it takes a couple of months after that. I've never done the whole thing myself. I don't really know the details other than from biology class. I'm not sure that intercultural dialogue. I think we've been trying that at the UN for well over half a century now, and
well, did we try?
No. Well, some people will argue that we tried. Some people will argue that we tried. Other people, of course, will argue that it was just a piece of theater, and that's fine as well. I think all of the things that we have tried in the last half century have failed pretty dismally. So those mechanisms, if they evidently don't work and the Titanic is sinking, then we need to, be ready and be willing to try radically new stuff. And instead of continuing debating navigational theory, we should maybe start tearing up the interior and make rafts.
Okay, so at the end, what do you suggest at this moment? Because that's the question of Hardy. What are we going to do we are going to do?
Well, listening to what Jeanine said earlier, I think there is and I've dealt with this before in other classes I've taught on sustainability type issues. I think there's a massive mistake sometimes about what we could mean by the word sustainability, because people tend to associate it with being green and recycling and being nice to panda bears and whales. And I just think it really boils down to any system that can exist over an extended period of time within physical reality. And our current industrial society is not part of that set.
Not yet. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Hardy is very good to give a summary. Can you give a summary and a next step?
I think this subject is summarized pretty good.
Yeah, but I want you again, because then you can make a next step with one metaphor.
You do that. I yield to you.
Okay.
You're much smarter than me.
Ah, that's wow.
Consensus, therefore, is related to setting of goals.
Yeah.
This is not to, how do you call it, put away the problem, but goal setting is also part of my job, called Synmind, Synergy of Minds, is a very difficult, one of the most difficult activities we do, because again, despite all the globalization and all the things we all are twittering and Facebooking, we all have different views of the world, and I put this also in the discussion on the internet, you can read it. It is in with us. We see as an individual each fact, each one or two, or blue or red, differently. Now, the way, and that's what I like of the first speaker, the trade-offs of what we should do or not should do, is it should not go about technicalities and bureaucrats related to sustainability or who should live and not live and quality of water and things like that. It should be what do we want, and everybody, even in this room, is willing or is wanting different things from life.
Okay.
And the consensus, therefore, then is a tool to program this in a practicable. That's what Schloer said. What can we then do? That is the output of consensus.
Okay.
That's why it's valuable.
Very clear. Thank you. I just go to Humberto again. Do you believe that we can have people with different, for instance, in this audience, what scale of value difference are there? Can you say something about that?
Well, that was my original question. Do you think that as a result of globalization, we are converging now values, and our research is saying, no way. What is happening is that because of globalization, we are confronted much more than in the past with each other, and by the confrontation, we discover our values, because if you are living in a certain culture, well, things are given. And the more we work together, the more we indeed have a preference for our own values. And you see it at the European Union at the moment.
So,
I mean, yeah.
Okay, so what could be a wiki the thinking idea to start a process towards, because we decided consensus of goals is essential. Anybody has a wiki idea how to come there?
Yeah, but then you have to find it in a way of win-win situations.
Of course,
yeah.
That's a good one, and trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go to the audience. So,
do I need to restate that?
so if you say one line.
Yes.
Okay, so one line, we somehow need to get a greater appreciation for our values, let's say, and that oftentimes comes through in the European Union. I think that we actually need to go further and define what those values are. Once we've come to appreciate them, then we need to define them and, let's say, write them down, maybe document them properly. I think we need to do more of that in general, but specifically about documenting our values from the starting set with which we start. And then as we compare them to new ones, then maybe we can see what it is that we're really about and what we like. So just being clear about the starting point, I think, is the next step in this argument.
Very clear summary. Thank you very much. I think we not only reached consensus, but convergent with the first part of the session, where Hardy said the end of his speech was very important. We have to think about what we are going to do. And this has also everything to do with values, because persons are related to values. Thank you very much. Audience, did you like the thinking process? Yes. Okay, good. That's good. But we're not finished yet. We're not finished yet. Because each of the speakers gets 5 minutes, 4 minutes, to raise a question into the audience. Then the audience, 2, 3 people can stand up and say, I will start the answer in this way, the other that way, and the other that way. And then he or she can say, okay, I would like to go on with that person. And that person will explain this argument, and another person can follow, but only persons who want to follow. So, nay of no, we are not interested. That we do the next evening. We now only to build up any argument on any questions, and they put questions into the audience. So I will suggest that Jeanine starts, and I give you, no, I hold the microphone and I give Job the phone to walk into the audience. Jeanine, what is the question you want to throw into the audience, please?
do you agree with me that the Charter of the Human Rights is in fact reflecting our shared values as humanity?
Okay, very nice question. Is the you? Of course, people. I don't know if people know them, but because it's a very extensive list. But do you think that the Charter of Human Rights reflects the shared human values? Yeah. Who wants to start an answer? Can you please stand up? And if nobody stands up, then I just anybody of the panel will I will give the next one. Nobody want? Then I start with Huib.
Well, if you look at the question, the human rights, then the first thing is that the human rights starts with the individual rights and the individual obligations. Equal rights, equal obligations for everybody, not regarding race, not regarding sexual preference and so on. That's what you find only in a few countries. And I give you one example of the problem. In 2002, there was a conference in Cairo where all the Islamic countries were gathered. And they were talking about if the human rights were complying to the values of the Islam. And the conclusion was, yes, but only if they share, well, the values of the Sharia. And that what that means is that human rights are excluding in a big part of the world women's rights and, for instance, gay rights.
Exactly, very clear. Who wants to make a next argument on this statement of Humberto? Yeah, will you please stand up and the mic will come to you. But yeah.
So it's precisely that. If we define consensus as being a kind of average among the opinion of a group of people, you can reach consensus saying, okay, women must be excluded. If you ask to a certain group of individuals, it's consensus, we go into that, but it's still, is this the right way to go?
Okay, I think that we in the group rejected that sort of consensus, and we said we have consensus of goals. So there should be a dialogue of goals worldwide. Can you say something about that? If you would be capable of organizing that, what would be the point? Please stand up that we can see. Yeah.
Okay, I think the same society that has been excluding people in the chart could reach the goal. It's a goal for them not to let women participate more actively. They could reach this as a goal. They could discuss and say, okay, it's our goal not to allow them to get there. And still, is this right?
Okay, but do you see an alternative?
Is this a good way to go via consensus?
Can I answer this?
Yeah, okay.
When we have real consensus, then this will really work in your favor because there are more women on this planet than men. And the outcome has to be, by definition, that women will not be excluded. Very simple. See, here is how good consensus is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next, somebody else. Yeah, there.
Well, it was also about individual rights, and maybe we should not ask if the human rights are all there is, but what we miss in it. And what we miss in it might be the part that it's not only about the individual, but it's always that what we share should be more important than what we have. And if we take the share part, so what we give to others as our reputational status or as what we are, then women would be on top.
Well, that's an interesting one because there's a lot of, also in the Western world, internet or social communities pleading for a sharing and giving a reputation instead of taking and like the Adam Smith philosophy. Is that possible, Jeanine?
Yeah, on the optimistic side, everybody wants connectivity and love. So, indeed, yeah, I think we should be optimistic on that. And I think also the very old-fashioned male behavior, male chauvinist behavior that we see in some part of the world will come to an end. But that's my optimistic view.
Thank you. That person, finally. So what been said, and we repeat, is very important, that people all want the same, that is sharing, loving, so why not do that on a big scale together? I think that Huib also likes that point. Okay, yeah. That's the
My
final
name's
one.
Will Holdsworth. I don't think I need a microphone.
What you want?
This is a theatre.
Yeah.
Man-proud man dressed in buck-brief authority. I'm just concerned with what I've been hearing from some of the people on the panel. Particularly, experts, in my view, should be on tap and not on top. That comes from the time in Liverpool in the 80s, when in fact, in government, who were the experts and the small committees, said what they were going to do in Liverpool. They never got there. It was the people in Liverpool who actually did the work.
Yeah.
The same thing goes from somebody mentioned about the Sensko. And somebody said here that in fact that was a political consensus. Rubbish.
Okay.
That was the view of a very small committee.
Yeah.
And today we are having large multinationals, of which some of you people seem to be working for, across the world, who are the new people. I happen at the moment to be advising, you might be surprised at this, the man who owns Gazprom.
Okay.
And I find working with those people, they are the new people, and in fact what could happen in the end, to do some of the things you're saying, lovely though you say these sort of beautiful things, it's going to be a revolution, and it's going to be a bloody one.
Okay, thank you for this final stuff. That's it, we go to the next. What Hardy said in his speech of his 10 points, and I advise everybody to go to the internet to look for the facts and then repeat the 10 points, that we will have to go without politicians, and that sort of, but find a new way of decision model making. We agree maybe on that. We ask, now we go to Andrei, can you throw in a question into the audience, the next one, please.
So, I'll keep it fact-oriented and less philosophical this time. Like I mentioned previously, we believe that food, energy and water are essentially facets of the same problem. But which one will be the most pressing facets going forward for the rest of the 21st century? What do people think in the audience? Is it going to be energy, food or water?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, which will be the more pressing issue of the three in the rest of the 21st century?
Okay.
Energy, food or water?
If you want to answer, please stand up.
They're all the same.
No, stand up before you want to say. Yeah.
Excuse me, I think food.
Can you give an argument?
Well, there are lots of ways to generate water, even from the sea. We could generate water through vegetables, fruits. There are still enough water resources, but genetically modified food is causing another natural disasters, and I think that we're going to face a strong problem of worldwide hunger created by men, created by us.
Okay, and anybody on the audience can go on this argument?
Just 1 second.
You can give a reaction.
Sorry, all I wanted to say was, the fact is that when I said they're all the same, what I'm trying to really get at is the fact that water, food, or anybody else will be owned and controlled by very small but large
elite
corporate groups, and they will be the controllers. It won't be the people. It won't be the people who will be able to control their own lives, their own water, their own power, their own energy.
Okay,
So
then I go to Hardy. May I have, sorry,
So we
then I come
talk
back to you?
distribution
No, I go to
system.
Hardy, sorry. Don't shout, please.
Sorry, but I think
Hardy.
corporations
Wait a minute,
are already controlling food, water and energy.
Can you react on
And that's what's wrong with it.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly what I tried to point out in my talk earlier. We must move away from a few deep pockets exploiting the rest of the planet. In other words, food, water, and energy, the scarcity of these three providing wonderful opportunities for profits.
Exactly.
The more scarce something is, the more profits we can extract. And we must change that paradigm completely. We must actually move away from that profits are the goal of our life. The goal of our life has to be to live together in peace and collaboration. That would be much better than lots of profits for a few.
Great, thank you. You're allowed to applaud, of course. You can, it was your question. Anybody want to react again? Yeah. May you stand up, please?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. For the procedure to be clear, if you want to say something, first stand up, and then you get the mic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a cliche what I hear the last words
Clichés are not
about the
wrong.
companies owning energy, water, and you know all these precious resources that we have. I agree, but how can the people manage it? I mean, you need institutes, you need government, maybe not. I like very much what I don't know your name. Sorry, next to Arjen said. How can we think about new methods? Because there must be something to run this world, but how? You know, and because if you hear that there are more women in the world than men, shouldn't be that maybe the first thing if we talk about consensus and democracy, that the women should that be the first one that we should tackle as a problem? Give them more power? Should men be involved? Many questions come up to me, but I don't agree with all the old cliches that are.
That's an implementation issue you're raising.
Okay, exactly.
Not a goal issue, it's an implementation issue.
Okay.
There are many ways to implement that.
The goal is the goal that we get companies.
First.
Okay, good. Let's get the companies out of running the waters, the scarce water. So what is the goal then? Give it to the people? How do we do that? Because if somebody lives at the source of water, you will always have more water than the one at the bottom down. So who is going to get to that water?
Okay, the question is clear. Then we go back to Andrew, because it was his round.
Yeah. And I come later back to you.
The goal is not how to implement this. The goal is, do we all on this planet, wants to share clean, available water? Is the answer yes? Yes. Everything else is an implementation issue.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but that's what we talk about.
No, we're not talking about it.
We need to find first and define goals that the whole humanity says, yes, we're gonna fly with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
I advise,
and then we find the ways to get there.
I advise everybody to redo his homework and read the website of Club of Amsterdam, where there's a lot of implementation questions defined. Huh?
Okay.
Well, I think what I would say is out of the three questions coming back, I heard so far the third was the best, in my view, by far. And I would like to acknowledge it as such. And actually, what else I'd like to say is, Arjen raised a good point. I think Einstein is credited with saying that the mindset that got us into a problem cannot be used to solve the problem we now have. So we should try to break out of it and really look for something new to solve the problems that are intractable.
I think that's
worth repeating. The thinking that produced the problem is not the thinking that produced the solution. I will go to the next. Thank you, Andrew, for the very inspiring round. Can you take the next one? And you wanted to say something. Yeah.
Well, I can maybe take it to the next level in some ways, but also going forward from what we did before. When you talk about the implementation detail of power concentrations and wealth concentrations and all that stuff, the French figured out a very patent solution to that about 200 years ago, and it works very well. And to this day, of course, rich people in France still have a bit of a different think about how you divide up the wealth in society than, for instance, in North America, because they didn't have that sort of guillotine experience. So that really works. So I would say that most power concentrations that exist are a societal choice.
Okay, what is the question you want to throw in the audience?
Well, I keep coming back to this simple thing, but we can do multiple choice. But I'll do something that maybe looks a little bit like it. If sustainability is our sort of very abstract but not very well defined goal, which can be practically in water or in all kinds of things. Is this about saving as many people that are alive today, saving the human species indefinitely, or saving a maximum amount of species on the planet? Because those are, I think, three possibly partially opposing goals.
Can you repeat it slowly?
So do we want to save as many people possible that are alive today, all 7+ billion of them? Or do we want to make sure that the human species survives indefinitely, which we can do with as little as 3,000? Or do we want to save a maximum biodiversity on the planet, which would probably best be benefited by having 0 humans? So those are three different.
Who wants to answer? Start with an answer, please. Yeah.
To answer the question, I think since it's consensus and we're all involved in it, I think the answer is I want to save myself, and then anything else that comes after that. And since we're all involved, it'll be everybody. So that's the answer. Okay. Everybody that's on the planet, and then whatever else is left, yeah, so what we can do.
Okay. You have your answer? Anybody else? Anybody else? Yeah.
What would we do if we met an alien? Because if you, what I'm wondering is, we're supposed to be a family, right? So would you let somebody die of your family? So it's all about surviving. We should survive together, I think.
Okay, that's your answer. Thank you very much. There's another one. Can you go on the two answers before? Work on that?
I think the important issue is on how to de-alienate. Because we are, in fact, meeting aliens every day in the people opposite us. I think the most important question we need to answer, having consensus on wanting to build a solid boat, is the question, who do you resemble most? Do you resemble more the blue-collar workers who come up, streaming up from the belly of the Titanic, screaming havoc and venting their frustration? Or do you resemble more the managers and other stakeholders whining and dining self-righteously on the upper decks?
Okay. Thank you very
much. And I feel that if you answer that question, and if you find a way to bridge the gap between those two, and bridging the gap, I think, is often lays in looking for ways to evoke the creativity in the alien opposite.
Thank you. Okay, we have to hurry. We go to Huib. Humberto, what is your question you want to throw into the audience?
The question is, do you think that democracy is not something for the future? And do you think that experts, so-called experts, can get all the answers for the societal questions?
Very clear question.
Yeah, there's the first answer.
There was already in the beginning one of the answers given. It's crowdsourcing. We have so much possibilities, so much knowledge, so much solutions that by crowdsourcing, by finding structures to bring it all together, we can come up with any solution all over the world. So that is my answer.
Yes.
It's crowdsourcing.
Heartwarming answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you may applaud for this gentleman.
We go if there's no next one. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Sorry, because I have a little bit time stress.
No, go on.
I go on to yes. Oebele, can you throw in a question into the audience?
Build on the discussion we had so far, and keeping to Socratic thinking, are there enough resources in this world, in food, energy, water, to cover our goal that we all should prosper and grow, starting from the 7 billion we are now, say to the 14, which maybe be around in 50 years?
Okay, clear question.
I believe that there are.
Can you stand up, please, because we can see.
I believe there are plenty of resources. Just to make a shortcut, talking about energy, I think we can make a shortcut and remember Nikola Tesla and finally bring out into everyday's life all the inventions that are hidden away, stolen away, whatever.
Can you give an example?
Of the energy, for example, energy towers that he was planning to build around the globe in order to tap down free energy which exists in the hemisphere or under the Earth's crust. Unfortunately, he was blocked by his financial Mr. Morgan.
Investor, yeah.
And there are plenty more solutions. Also, cold nuclear fusion is coming out, I heard, this year. So I don't know if it will really come fast.
Thank you. Another person wants to add to that. The question is very clear. Yeah, in the upper corner of the balcony.
I want to propose. I think that we have to think about a change in individuality versus social groups. If we go further and we think we have to save all, then we have a big problem. We have to save the 7 billion. But what is the quality of life? Because sharing all the resources, energy, food, water, that will be a big problem. Maybe we have to think about minimizing people's suffering. Maybe I don't think we can play God, but sometimes maybe it's better when you are sure that in the future children that don't develop good brains, good muscle structures, what kind of people do they develop? Maybe it's better ending up with smaller groups with future quality and focus a little bit more on social groups instead of individuals. Then maybe you end up with a more quality of life for all of us.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in the audience want to make a next step on this three arguments we heard? Yeah.
Can I have a question? What he just said.
I will give you the floor later, please. Yeah.
Are there enough resources?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. We can make them. We can grow water, or we can grow plants and energy in Africa. We can grow in all the deserts. We can grow them in all our houses and all our gardens. And we can pump up our water. But the thing is, do we want it? Can we get an agree to work in Africa? Is everybody going to work against us? Are there any other resources deeper in the seas and in the countries? There are so many stories there are. The lady pointed out that the Earth is an energetic being that gives limitless energy if we tap into the wisdom of Nikola Tesla. So it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of we can find an agree. And final point, consensus. Wow, consensus. But who is making the consensus? Which board? All the people, all the blue-collar workers, the department, the government. Who is making the consensus? So consensus is great, but who can give? Who is the group that should
You have to have criteria about that. Thank you very much. Okay, shared consensus. Yeah. Is there? We can go to the final question, and they will be launched by Hardy.
Okay, before I ask my question, I just wanted to clarify something. What I thought I heard is that we should have less humans on the planet and they live better. Then if that is true, if you really said that, then who gets to choose who has to go?
The worst case scenario.
That sounds like a really awful idea. I think a much better idea is to deal with what we have and find a more smart and better management for the future.
Okay.
So now to my question. This is, I believe, the most pressing question in my view. Conflict is big business. It's big business for corporations, weapon manufacturers. It's big business for banks. It's big business for a lot of people. But it is the most cancerous part of our society. How do we end it? How do we get out of the paradigm of conflict?
The conflict business. Okay, that's a moment to be silent.
But we have a lot of excellent questions, so I think that was a good harvest. Who wants to start on this burning question?
Maybe by...
First, yeah, we got 3 persons, so that's good. We start with that, sir, and then we go up. forward.
Interestingly enough, there was way more spent on new energy things than on war. But we don't understand that. We think that war is still a big business, but it's no more. So by understanding that war is in fact over, we can build. There are so much more interesting things than war. But we have to understand that. We have to also to realize that it's over. And the newspapers say it daily, but the newspapers are the war makers.
Yeah. So there's a very strong point. You are, I think you are a fan of David Bohm. We have to change our thinking and think that it's over, and that it is really over. Okay, we go to Senior Holmes. Yeah.
Well, I try to answer the question about the next step, how to reach world peace. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
a conflict business also.
Well, I think how we can do that.
Okay.
It's quite easy. It is happening already. To give us hope, the money is already centered in the banks, so that is okay. The sex is on the internet, and about the last bit, the power. Just give it to an artificial intelligence system, and our future will be safe.
Okay, this is one scenario. Thank you very much. This is Hardy would like that scenario. Yeah.
Okay, I have
Wait a minute. We're gonna continue short.
Well, I just wanted to ask a short, two short questions, because there seems to be broad consensus that we need to make a lot of effort in keeping 7 billion people alive, which sounds like a morally really good thing, and also we need to have world peace. So whom in the audience would tomorrow morning give up 85% of their net wealth for the rest of their life, while continuing, of course, to work just as hard or possibly harder than you've ever done in your life? So that's A. Reach the.
You want now to raise the hand? No, one question again. Who wants to raise the hand? 85% loss of your income.
How do you calculate that?
No, in broad. No, we go.
We are all first worlders here. We all, we pay €3 for a cup of coffee.
Well, not a lot of people. So go to your next question.
So next question is, who will go to The Hague tomorrow to protest all kinds of ongoing war crimes under NATO flag, and is willing to be arrested in the process of protesting?
Okay, thank you.
So I've been doing it all my life.
Okay, I did a lot of protest also in my life. We'll go to you, yeah.
I understood back into a very simple answer about how to stop conflict.
Conflict business.
Yes, we have to stop producing guns. If we can make an agreement that nobody can produce guns, there is no use of a conflict, because nobody can get out of it.
Wow, this is a big struggle, but a nice one. Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
I think this is a good one to stop. Hardy, do you agree?
Totally.
We agree totally. I think we have a very nice...
Stop making weapons.
No, forbid selling and buying.
Stop
Okay.
making them.
And then they will stop making, because they all go for the money. But also I would go back to the senior with the mindfulness. We can change our thoughts, because a weapon is an idea. So if we change the idea, there will be no weapons. Yeah? We can have peace and crowdsourcing and sharing. We had a last talk with Tim O'Reilly in the same sort of dialogue, but then for 400 people, also being that nice as this audience. And he said, finally in the Socratic dialogue, we have to change the question. Mostly people say, can we not share? And then he said, it seems a stupid question. Why are we not sharing? Because we are sharing creatures. So that's an interesting roundabout. Yeah, I give the panel the final because the summary is very straight. We have to go for a consensus on goals. We can use the Future Club of Amsterdam and other clubs to do this, because internet is accessible till Morocco, even to the ladies in Saudi Arabia. And we do that, and then we have a machine here, which is Hardy, who can think and make scenarios about how to come there. We have a lot of people who believe in crowdsourcing and can convince people by loving, not maybe also sex and food, to join. And that is a very strong belief in the power of thinking. I think that's what we demonstrated. So I would say power to Socrates, but that's of course my thing. We are in Spain. I live in Spain because that's a very important place to. It's not in crisis, people. That's what I want to say. It has a very secret of good traditional life. But we make in Spain a new village with all the technology so that villages become also cool and worthy to live. So that we don't exploit and we stop thinking about cities as the only place to go. I will give that was what I wanted to give the audience. I will give the panel, everyone, a few sentences to give what they think is the message that we constructed together tonight. I think it was a constructive thinking, but maybe the panel disagree, but give us what you think that we constructed tonight.
Well, actually, I'd like to start out by thanking everyone for the contributions and the time that you all took to state those and share those. Actually, was extremely interesting. I think broadly extracting one consensus view is we all see certain issues as more important than others. And another observation is that we certainly feel very strongly about some issues. And it seems to me that at the conclusion of tonight we haven't agreed on everything. But maybe that's the point. We have to take those unanswered, unconsensus as yet questions with us and keep thinking about it and I guess keep owning them. So just inviting everyone to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to Jeanine.
Okay, yeah, everybody thanks for the contribution. And I think we are able to make the difference in our own lives, in our organizations, be it multinational or small scale or individual. Yeah, I really feel the power.
And why can you say something about why you feel the power now?
About this collective brain power to the positive, to the positive side.
Okay, thank you.
The collective brain power, I agree to that, certainly. Well, I think still there are value differences worldwide, and this is not a matter of experts solving the value differences. And I recommend looking with these eyes at the European Union. That's for the first time in history an attempt to bridge the differences of 5 of the 6 value systems we can distinguish in the worldwide.
Okay, very interesting. We're gonna do a next Future of Values evening, I suggest, for the club.
I think we discussed some of the dilemmas between our highest sort of moral aspirations when it comes to sustainability versus the practical difficulty in making it work in physical reality. My personal opinion is that it is physically impossible to keep 7 billion people alive at a livable way in the future without completely destroying the ecosystem that makes the oxygen that we use. So I think we all need to work very hard on thinking about how we are going to confront the physical limitations that will be put on us in the next few years and how we navigate the very tough moral questions. And we can't gloss over the moral questions and say, oh no, we're going to save everybody. You know, when the Titanic is leaking and there's 5,000 people on board and only 1,500 room in the boats, then you have to start thinking about what you're going to do.
Yeah, very clear. We take this also with us. Yeah, thank you.
Very interesting discussion, using crowded minds, so to say. Very important is, and Wursten already pointed that, and also the first speaker about trade-off, you need, and that I really emphasize this, you need to have a good education system allowing brains to start dialoguing, to put this strange word, as we are doing now. If you don't have that, you get screaming things on which the newspapers are full, and you can do nothing with it, and a very stern warning, etc., which creates differences again. So in order to have the building we were just building, about goal setting and consensus around goal setting, you need an excellent education system. Keep this in mind. Thank you.
I want to react on that because he asked, what are you doing? Are you willing to take part? We are starting in Amsterdam, in Spain, and in London, a new educational system, which is not an educational system, but that's the problem, the educational system. We have to organize learning into our villages, our districts and our cities, because not kids have to learn, mostly they know it better than we do. We have to learn again. So we have a system of getting Socratic learning hubs where you use the internet. There's a lot of interactive intelligence. We don't need all this in stupid classes, etc. There they can do what they do, but the kids need the dialogue with the responsible personality. So that's what we call the Socratic learning hub. So that's an answer to this. I agree that most of the people avoid the question of learning and education because they are bored with education. Right? And if they listen to education, somebody on a party, they say, okay, move away from this guy. But it's the most essential thing for our planet. Thank you very much for this. Hardy, you can speak till you want, but I think you are...
We're already past time. So
okay, yeah, the Indian dance is waiting.
Minus minutes. Anyway, what I want to say is very short. I sense in the room that there's lots of anxieties and fears and opinions about all kinds of issues. But what really gives me hope is how easy it is where we can all come together very quickly to get behind goals. How the future should look like and what we really want from the future. And that is exactly what I tried to express in my talk earlier. It is that what we need to work on, to find consensus in our goals. Everything else will be an implementation issue afterwards. So there is hope that this world can be a better one very soon. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you everybody for your brain power. And we will go to the Indian utopia. Thank you.